The Cursed Cookbook. Prologue. In the bustling city of New Orleans, known for its rich culinary traditions and vibrant culture, lived a renowned chef named Julian. He was famous for his innovative dishes and had a successful restaurant that attracted food lovers from all over the country. One day, Julian received an unexpected inheritance from his late grandmother, an old, leather-bound cookbook that had been passed down through generations of his family. Chapter 1. The Inheritance. Julian was intrigued by the cookbook's age and history. The pages were yellowed, and the recipes were written in elegant, flowing script. Each recipe was accompanied by mysterious symbols and strange annotations in a language he couldn't decipher. Excited to explore his family's culinary legacy, he decided to try one of the recipes for his restaurant's new menu. Chapter 2. The First Recipe. The first recipe he chose was for a dish called la poule noire, a chicken dish that promised unparalleled flavor. As he prepared the dish, strange things began to happen. The kitchen lights flickered, and an eerie whisper seemed to echo around him. Ignoring the odd occurrences, he served the dish to his customers, who were immediately enchanted by its taste. Chapter 3. The Consequences. That night, Julian had a vivid nightmare. He was in a dark forest, chased by shadowy figures. He woke up in a cold sweat, dismissing it as stress. However, the next day, he heard that one of his regular customers had fallen ill after eating at his restaurant. Concerned but not yet suspicious, he decided to try another recipe. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Feast. Julian chose a recipe for a decadent dessert called tarte des âmes. As he gathered the ingredients, he noticed that the instructions included obscure herbs and spices that were difficult to find. Determined to recreate the dish, he scoured the city's markets and eventually found what he needed. As he baked, the whispers returned, louder this time, and the kitchen temperature dropped unnaturally. Chapter 5. The Haunting Begins. That night, Julian experienced another nightmare, this time more intense. He saw his grandmother, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow, warning him to stop using the cookbook. He woke up to find claw marks on his bedroom door. Frightened, he decided to investigate the origins of the cookbook. Chapter 6. The Discovery. Julian visited a local historian who specialized in occult artifacts. The historian revealed that the cookbook was rumored to be cursed, created by a witch who had been betrayed by her village. She had infused the recipes with dark magic, cursing anyone who used them. The historian warned Julian to stop using the book immediately. Chapter 7. The Decision. Despite the warnings, Julian was torn. The dishes from the cookbook were drawing in more customers than ever before, and his restaurant was thriving. Greed and ambition clouded his judgment, and he decided to use one last recipe, hoping it would bring even greater success. Chapter 8. The Final Recipe. Julian chose the recipe for soupe de la mort, a soup that promised to elevate the senses. As he prepared it, the kitchen became a vortex of supernatural activity. Pots and pans clanged together, and ghostly figures appeared, whispering in his ear. Julian, now fully aware of the danger, was determined to finish the dish. Chapter 9. The Collapse. The soup was served to a full house that evening. As the diners ate, a heavy silence fell over the restaurant. One by one, the customers collapsed, writhing in pain. The curse had claimed its victims, and Julian watched in horror as his success turned into a nightmare. Chapter 10. The Aftermath. The restaurant was closed, and an investigation began. Julian was blamed for the incident, and his reputation was ruined. Desperate to make things right, he decided to destroy the cookbook. He returned to the historian, seeking advice on how to break the curse. Chapter 11. The Ritual. The historian explained that to break the curse, Julian had to perform a ritual at the place where the cookbook was created, the witch's old cabin deep in the bayou. Armed with the historian's instructions and a resolve to end the nightmare, Julian set out on his journey. Chapter 12. The Journey. Julian navigated the treacherous bayou, facing dangerous wildlife and the oppressive, eerie atmosphere. As he approached the cabin, the whispers grew louder, and shadowy figures followed him, trying to deter him from his mission. Julian pressed on, determined to end the curse. Chapter 13. The Confrontation. At the cabin, Julian found the remnants of the witch's life: a cauldron, ancient tomes, and the remains of dark rituals. He began the historian's ritual, reading from a scroll and burning the cookbook in the witch's cauldron. The air grew thick with malevolent energy, and the ghost of the witch appeared, her face twisted in anger. Chapter 14. The Sacrifice. The witch demanded a sacrifice to break the curse. Julian, realizing the gravity of his actions, offered his own soul to save those affected by the curse. The witch accepted, and as the cookbook burned, the cabin erupted in flames. Julian felt his life force draining, but he held on, hoping his sacrifice would bring peace. Chapter 15. The Redemption. As dawn broke, the cabin was reduced to ashes, and the curse was lifted. Julian's body was found by rescuers, his face serene. News of his sacrifice spread, and he was remembered as a hero who had saved many lives. The cookbook's dark legacy was finally ended, and the restaurant reopened under new management, free from the shadow of the curse. Epilogue. The legend of Julian and the cursed cookbook became a cautionary tale in New Orleans, a reminder of the dangers of greed and the supernatural. The restaurant flourished once more, and the dark magic that had once haunted its kitchen was forgotten, leaving only whispers of a chef who dared to challenge the unknown.